also created more. Whether you are driving to work the same way every day, doing chores, or figuring out relationships, your comfort zones provide the feeling of mastery over your environment. The familiarity is a cornerstone to mental health and a sense of well-being. Third, cultural factors provide barriers to change. Although Americans claim to value innovation, most prefer the status quo. Culture changes slowly, and although each generation thinks they lead a cultural revolution, each so-called revolution is ultimately co-opted into the prevailing culture. No generation has a monopoly on either virtue or vice. Sexual promiscuity, violence, and the perception of decaying values are common to every era. In the 20th century, technological innovation masked the slow pace of cultural change. Penicillin, space travel, television, personal computers, and mobile phones gave the illusion of innovation, while racism, misogyny, xenophobia, and paternalism persisted. Lasting cultural innovations are rare. Conservative cultural forces rely on nostalgia for a past that never was to slow the pace of cultural change. Despite all these resistant factors, change happens. Sometimes human instigated, hoping for something better. More frequently, people are thrust into transitions against their will. Although the first kind of change seems like a welcome event, a long period of adjustment still occurs. Almost a grieving process for the past that's been left behind. If a change comes quickly from an outside force, however, it feels frightening and overwhelming. It takes time to process the emotions and adapt to a new environment with a new set of rules. Therapists advise against making major life decisions after a significant change, such as starting a different job, moving to a new home, or losing a loved one. They understand that change upsets the cognitive faculties and causes stress that leads to mistakes and poor judgment. Leadership in a changing organization. As difficult as change is for individuals, the level of complexity is multiplied in organizations. Rapidly changing conditions provide specific challenges to leadership. If you have picked up this book, you are probably looking for a way to lead an organization, team, or community through a time of transition. Each individual within a company must go through their personal process of adapting to change, while structures and procedures must also be evaluated, modified, or overhauled. As with people, organizational adaptation takes place whether the change is positive, such as occurs with an expansion or new product, or negative, like layoffs or a takeover. Organizational leaders must perform a particularly tricky juggling act to be empathetic to individuals adapting to the new circumstances, while also creating new policies and procedures, even as they continue to do business as usual. In his classic book, Good to Great, author Jim Collins talks about the organizational tension brought on by changes. According to Collins, anytime an innovation occurs, a company must balance between preserving core values and stimulating progress. Core values are the cornerstone of every business identity and need to be honored and preserved. Progress, however, is the mechanism for growth and maintaining a competitive edge. Since progress entails change, it is easy for a business to avoid it. Good companies lean too heavily on either preservation or progress. Great companies find the perfect balance between the two. If individuals are hardwired to resist change, and organizations even more so, why does our friend Heraclitus say it is the only constant? Anyone who has lived to adulthood realizes that change happens all the time. Change is the primary mechanism for evolution, innovation, and progress. If you asked a caterpillar while it was spinning its cocoon, it probably would not say it was excited about the upcoming transition. It is evolutionarily driven to encase itself in a fiber prison, completely dissolve, and then regrow, cell by cell, into what looks like a different animal. Yet the change created a thing of greater beauty. The caterpillar has no choice in the matter.